Hey team, today I'm going to go through a detailed explanation as to what Google Tag Manager is, what it's used for, and how it can be useful. As I thought early on in my journey, it was quite difficult to get my head around specific use cases for Google Tag Manager and why it can be an extremely valuable tool, other than, say, adding the tags or analytics tracking into the website by default. So what we'll do is in this video we'll go through the menus, I'll explain the different parts of the systems, and then in the next coming weeks or so I'll start putting out some more detailed tutorials as to what you can do for Tag Manager and why it's so exciting. So to get started, when you go into Tag Manager you'll be given a screen that looks like this, and it will say, okay, well here's how you install Google Tag Manager. If you're using sort of WordPress or Wix or Squarespace, they're pretty simple documentation. If you're stuck, just reach out in the comments and I'll give you a link as to how to get started. But once it's installed, the first thing you want to do is publish an empty container. So you want to just go submit and put in an empty container. This will make sure that the code is loaded on the site and that you can actually preview containers when you're debugging. Now, anyway, as I discussed, the first thing we'll look to do is go through the overview panel. So the overview panel is where you'll look at all the changes that you've done, anything that's unpublished. So at the moment this container is all up to date, so we've got nothing here. However, if there was something modified, added, deleted, there would be changes here. As an example, in this container I have deleted a bunch of tags just to have a fresh start from my YouTube. So this is what it would look like for unpublished changes, as you can see up the top here. So this overview page, as discussed, will tell you your changes. Now, I'll just switch back to the other workspace, just so you can actually see some examples. So, on the left here you have your tags, triggers, variables, folders, and templates. Now, essentially, just taking a step back, what Google Tag Manager is it is a tool used to manage tags or tracking scripts or pixels on your website in one particular spot. So once you've installed this system, you don't need to go in and re-add each additional tag. In addition, it lets you set up triggers, which are like conditions, to send different data at different points. So an example would be you'll have a tag that will send just a page view, say back to Facebook or back to Google, and then you might have a separate event that sends through, say, a form submit or a phone call or a sale, for example. Now, as mentioned, we have these sections down here, and we'll start with the easiest thing, tags. Now, tags are as discussed, your individual pixels that are in the analytics account. So, for example, we have our Facebook base code, we have our lead script, we have our click to calls, click to email, form submission, base tag, and all the universal analytic versions in this account prior to the switchover. So, what this may look like for someone who's quite new is quite a lot of work, but I assure you, once you get your head around it, it's very, very simple. Now, the tags here look like this. You have all the individual tags that you may want to use in your analytics. In your marketing. So a base example might be your Google Analytics, so your base tag or your event tag, or you might have your Google Ads tag, say your conversion tag, remarketing, website calls, or you might have your custom HTML, which will be things for like your Facebook ads, LinkedIn, things like that. So here your tags, as discussed, are essentially the main pixels or tracking codes. Now in here you have your triggers. Now your triggers are attached to the tags, and it's what controls when the tag fires. So for example, a basic one to understand is we have our click to call trigger. So what that is a condition that says when an element is clicked, we want to check the URL, and if the URL contains tel, to fire these tags. Now that can be seen in things like this. So when you hover over the button, the call button, you can see that you've got the call button on the bottom left there. So when that is clicked, it then goes and fires the tags associated to it, which is our click to call and click to call. There's a bunch of different variation triggers that range from page view to clicking elements to visibilities to custom events, but don't let that overwhelm you yet, because as you start to get more and more in the Google Tag Manager journey, you'll start to get a bit more of a deeper feel for it. And as always, if you have questions, reach out in the comments. We'll have a chat and we'll get you on your feet. So, just to recap, triggers are what fires the tags. Now, variables are sections where you store data. They're one of the, in my opinion, main and best reasons to use Google Tag Manager, because you can essentially store data in here and reference it back in your tags. Now, what that might look like is you might have, say, a variable that will reference, say, the dollar value of your purchase that you can send back to, say, Facebook or Meta, or it might reference, say, in this example, the annual turnover in a form submission, as an example. There are other simple ones that obviously built in, like the click URL that we talked about earlier, page URL, and a whole other variations down here. And then you can also create your own. Now again, don't let this overwhelm you. This is just meant to be a quick introduction, so you can get understanding as to what it is and why it's important. In custom variables, you have a bunch of different variations here. One of the most important, in my opinion, is the custom JavaScript and the data layer variables. They let you write a bit of custom code to make sure that you're pulling in the data that you want, as mentioned as example, the, say, dollar value of this field. Now finally, you have, or second to finally, sorry, you have your folders, which is how you organize your tags. At the moment, my container is an absolute mess, but you might have a, say, a folder for GF4, a folder for Universal Analytics, a folder for Facebook, to ensure that all your tags are neat and tidy. And then finally, you have your templates, and templates are essentially templated tags and triggers and variables that you can download and add to your account, kind of like a preset example. I would personally try and avoid them where necessary, mainly because I fundamentally believe that understanding Tag Manager to the degree that you'll be able to do it yourself is the better path. You obviously don't learn by copying anything, and essentially that's what templates are. It's just a copy. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Now, my YouTube channel has a huge variety of very technical Google Tag Manager implementations. However, if there's something a bit more generic that you want me to cover, feel free to reach out in the comments. Otherwise, I'll continue to put out different use cases for Google Tag Manager along the way. And please, if you enjoy this video or you enjoy content on my channel, I'd really appreciate a subscribe and a like. Thanks.